morning, everyone. My name is Gary Simon, and I have the distinct pleasure of being your worship associate this morning. Would you please rise and body our spirit? Join us in singing hymn number 212 in your gray hymnal. 212.
Everybody. I'm not Mike Kemper. Mike is under the weather and couldn't be here this morning. I'm substituting. I'm Jim Russell, the president of the Board of Trustees here. And I'm here to welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Hudson Valley. Whether you've been with this congregation a decade or more, or this is your first time visiting us, we welcome you. Whatever the faith or traditions of your past, we welcome you. Whatever your theological stance, we welcome you. Whoever you are and whomever you love, we welcome you. Whatever your heritage, we welcome you. We respectfully acknowledge the territory in which our church building sits as the ancestral homelands of the Munsee, Lenape, and Wappinger people. I have a couple of announcements this morning. Next Sunday, March 16th, we will be kicking off our annual pledge drive, which this year has the theme of many hands, many hearts, empowering our beloved community. We are looking for bakers to contribute some cupcakes to help make our launch a blast. And if you can help see Christine Clayton. Christine, if you're here, please raise your hand. There's Christine. Or email her at cgclayton123@gmail.com by this Wednesday, March 11th, to let her know what you can bring. This coming Saturday evening, March 15th at 7:30 here in this room, we'll be hosting a concert by the Blake Rowe Trio. Yeah. Suggested donation is $20 per person. After the music, There will be wine, beer, and delectable goodies for purchase. This concert is sure to be a big attraction, so arrive early. Doors open at 7 o'clock. Please park in the Department of Transportation parking lot or the Hilltop Nursery parking lot to leave room for the many visitors we expect to come. We've been given special permission for UUCHV members only to park in the Hilltop Nursery parking lot for this event. For the most up-to-date information on these topics and others, please refer to our weekly e-newsletter and check our website frequently. And please join us for conversation after the service. If you're present here in the sanctuary, please join us for coffee and conversation in Fellowship Hall. If you're watching the live stream, the link for our Zoom coffee hour can be found in the Saturday reminder in your email. If you're just recently joining us and would like to receive our weekly e-news, please fill out one of our visitors cards and put it in the holder at the back near the door, or email us at uucroton@gmail.com with your name, and we will make sure that you're added to our e-news list. If you're here in the sanctuary, please remember to silence your cell phones at this time. Once again, we welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Hudson Valley.
Our guest minister today is Reverend Lane Cobb. She's an ordained interfaith minister currently serving the UU congregation of Westchester in Mohegan Lake. A trained wellness coach and circle keeper, Reverend Cobb enjoys the privilege of bringing people together for discussions that foster cross-cultural relationships and create beloved community. She currently serves as co-chair of the Greenberg Human Rights Advisory Committee. Reverend Cobb.
Thank you, Gary, and good morning, beloveds. It's good to see you again. Happy spring. Thanks for having me back. It is a joy and an honor to be here. And as always, I bring you greetings from the Fourth Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Westchester in Mohegan Lake. Our service this morning is women-themed, and I hope you enjoy it. Let us pray. As we gather today in the spirit of love and justice, we embrace the wisdom of our past while striving for a future where all voices are heard and valued. May our time together renew our commitment to equality, compassion, and transformation. Amen. Our call to worship words this morning are from Reverend D.C. Fortune, who is a UU minister and queer rights activist. Theology of Love by D.C. Fortune. My theology understands humanity as simultaneously fragile and resilient, weak and strong, greedy and generous, mean and compassionate. I see the divine spark in the tension between those opposites. I see the divine in the generosity of those who often have the least to give, in kindness offered by those who would arguably have the most reason to be bitter. The divine is like love in this regard, irrational, unexpected, and beautiful.
I now invite the children and their religious education leader to come on, or somebody, to come on up to ring our bell. We ring our bell 8 times to celebrate our 8 principles. now, please join everybody in saying our unison affirmation, which is in your order of service. Inspired by love, our mission is to seek our true nature, connect deeply and openly, and act for justice. Now, please rise in body and spirit for our next hymn. Oh, wait a second. Hold on there. Hold on there. It's the time thing, I think. Okay. Our chalice lighting words today are from Upanishads, adapted. We light this chalice to help us move from untruth to truth, to help us move from ignorance to wisdom, to help us move from animosity to love, to help us move from bondage to freedom. We rededicate ourselves before this light to affirm and practice truth, wisdom, love, and freedom today and in the days to come. Now, let's sing. Number 170, please, in your gray hymnal. We are a gentle, angry people. Number 170. let's keep the singing going. Sing our children out for RE. And now for something completely different. We're going to hear from our Pledge Committee.
Stay here for a second. Thank you, everybody. We would like to indulge you for a few minutes in a never-before performed piece. Live theater here in the UUCHV. The scene is this: two friendly congregants, or maybe not so friendly, are walking after the service when they come upon two microphones. Please take your position. And here we go.
Hi, Matt.
Hi.
A happy March to you. A happy March to you, Matt.
I really hate March.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. March is my favorite month. The possibility that spring is near, St. Patrick's Day parades, and of course, the pledge.
Eek! That is exactly why I hate March. I dread the pledge. And what about the price of eggs?
No way. It's my favorite time of year. It's where we get to make a commitment to sustain the good work of our fellowship for the next year.
I can't stand the pledge. People asking for money. People talking about money. People asking me for money. Even thinking about money. I can't stand it at all. And what about the price of eggs?
Wow, I didn't know you felt that way, Matt. For me, the pledge is about money, sure, but it's all about so much more than that.
What?
I mean, the pledge is like a promise, a wish, a prayer. When we make a pledge for the next year, we express our gratitude for this special place in our lives at the same time that we express our hope for what it can be going forward.
Well, those are nice words, Megan. But it's still money and people asking me for money. And what about the price of eggs?
Look, Matt, I get it, but think what we could do with a strong pledge drive. Give our fabulous staff the raises they deserve, expand our offerings in adult religious exploration with great speakers and programs, and do more good in the world.
Well, when you put it that way.
And remember, everyone can pledge any amount. No money is necessary right now. Think of it as a promise you make to our fellowship and to one another. Whether you've been here for decades or just started coming this year, we welcome you. It takes many hands and many hearts to empower our beloved community to do good in the world.
Hi guys, this day to the cupcakes to celebrate our pledge launch next week.
No cupcakes today.
Why didn't you tell me about the cupcakes? I'm in.
And now, for our reading, I'd like to welcome up Leah Nelson.
Morning, everyone. In the Midst of a World by Rebecca Ann Parker. In the midst of a world marked by tragedy and beauty, there must be those who bear witness against unnecessary destruction and who, with faith, rise and lead in freedom with grace and power. There must be those who speak honestly and do not avoid seeing what must be seen of sorrow and outrage or tenderness and wonder. There must be those whose grief troubles the water while their voices sing and speak refreshed words. There must be those whose exuberance rises with lovely energy that articulates earth's joys. There must be those who are restless for respectful and loving companionship among human beings whose presence invites people to be themselves without fear. There must be those who gather with the congregation of remembrance and compassion, draw water from old wells, and walk the simple path of love for neighbor. And there must be communities of people who seek to do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly with God, who call on the strength of soul force to heal, transform, and bless life. There must be religious witness by Rebecca Ann Parker.
We come together in community to share with one another, to support one another, and to celebrate with one another. We bear sacred witness to each other in this honored ritual. As we begin, we know that there are both great sorrows and great joys in our world that must be acknowledged. We light our first candle to honor those in pain, victims of violence and war and oppression all around our world. We light a second candle because we understand that amidst all of that pain, there is also celebration and joy in our world. We honor that joy and sorrow are woven together. For some of us here today, this has been a week of life-changing joy that needs to be lifted up in this worship. For others, it has been a time of deep pain and sorrow that needs to be shared to make the burden lighter. If this has been such a time for you, I invite you to come forward. I will light a candle and to briefly tell us of your joy or sorrow. You may also raise your hand in silent acknowledgement of your joys or sorrows, and I'll light a candle for you. Please.
I just want to share a joy and a sorrow that I needed to do this, but I went to a anti-Musk Tesla rally in Manhattan yesterday, and it was really joyful. There was a drummer. People were really up for it, and I recommend going to one if you get the chance.
Hi, my name is Sherry. It's a joy to be back. I've been gone for a couple of weeks. The sorrow is that my mom died on February 26th. She was 97. Didn't make it to 99. She was trying to beat her dad. So my sisters and I have all been in Reston, Virginia, sorting through her, putting everything away and moving her stuff out of her apartment. She was had been diagnosed with congestive heart failure 2 years ago, but up until that time, Mom would, "How are you doing?" She would say, I'm great. Never failed. She always looked on the bright side, so I think she gave that to me, so thank you.
Hi, I'm Susie, and I have an appointment on Friday, and I hope to get this off. I guess I will find out. And I love being back at work. I love seeing the kids and the patrons and my fellow workers. And I'm really glad it's not permanent, because taking paratransit, it can take from 1 to 3 hours to get from Croton to Mount Vernon. And it's left me at 11 degrees weather for an hour in White Plains. So anyway, I'm glad it's temporary.
I had the joy of helping to fill in those potholes in the parking lot with half a dozen other congregants yesterday morning, and they look beautiful.
Hi, I'm Devin. I have the joy of being here for the first time. Thank you. I haven't been in a church in decades. Raised Catholic, but didn't take. You know, with these fraught times, I've been looking for people. And if you go online and type in social justice, queer rights, Westchester, Croton, you find yourself here. So, you know, I'm really looking forward to sort of making this a thing. And maybe getting to know all you fine people and seeing what we can do that anti-Musk. Hi. Hi.
Hi, I'm Megan. I actually haven't been up to share joy or sorrow, but now that I stood at this mic already this morning, it's like, I want to share the joy. I know you're already hearing a lot about the pledge drive, but Yaya and I have been just having a wonderful time getting to know Matt and Christine through working on the pledge drive. Matt was actually my 9th grade global history teacher. And when I first came here and I saw him, I was like, I know this guy. And then it took us about like a minute to figure out that he had been my teacher, and I was like, Mr. Clayton? But it's just been so lovely, and the pledge drive is far from over for you all. But there's a lot of pre-work that happens that we're almost done with, and I just wanted to share that joy, and I think I know I speak for Yaya too, so yeah.
Hello, my name is Elliot. My wife Emily and I are also relatively new. The joy for me has been some changes in my work schedule, which are up and coming, and that will give me a lot more time with my family. And I've just been thinking about my cousin and my sister. My sister, thank goodness, she is on the other side of breast cancer. But her 2 closest friends just got diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. And in a way, she feels like a little bit like the stool's getting kicked out from under her. And my cousin has been, him and his wife are been doing IVF, and I know they've been struggling, and I'm thinking about them. Thank you.
Going to light one final candle for all those joys and sorrows that remain unexpressed. For those outside of our walls who are searching for a place to bring the wholeness of their lives and be received with love.
As we enter into a time of reflection and contemplation, I offer this poem by Sarah Sutherland Dean. Sarah Dean is the host of the Shameless Mom Academy podcast, where she offers mindset, business, and leadership coaching for moms. And she is the founder and owner of Sync Fitness in Seattle, Washington. Her mission in work and in life is to help others find their voice and their power. She writes, "Someone called me a bleeding heart liberal. It was not intended as a compliment. However, I will always consider it one of the biggest compliments of my life." She says, "My heart bleeds for the underdog. My heart fights for those who can't fight. My heart rejoices in seeing others overcome adversity. My heart desires love and peace for everyone. My heart is compassionate and empathetic. My heart sees pain in others and wants to help. My heart believes in equality. My heart sees the good in people. My heart chooses action over fear." Please join me in a minute of silent meditation. In the Unitarian Universalist tradition, the sacred power of equality is central to our faith. It is a divine calling that urges us to recognize the inherent worthiness and dignity of every person and to work toward justice and liberation for all. Since the early 70s, feminist and womanist theologians have deepened our understanding of equality, revealing how gender, race, and class intersect in the pursuit of justice. Their work challenges us to resist patriarchal and oppressive systems that degrade and divide us, and reimagine faith, ethics, and community in ways that honor the full humanity of every individual. Two words that you will hear me say a lot this morning: resist and reimagine. Resist oppressive hierarchical structures. Reimagine a world where equality is a sacred practice. Today's sermon honors Women's History Month, but feminist theology is not just about women. It is about all of us. It is about dismantling the structures of oppression that limit our full humanity and reimagining the divine in ways that affirm dignity, equity, and interconnectedness. For centuries, traditional religious narratives have marginalized the voices of women and non-binary folks. The divine has been overwhelmingly represented as male, reinforcing systems of patriarchy that have justified inequality and that still exist in many faith organizations. Feminist theology challenges these assumptions. It asks, who has been left out of our sacred stories? Whose voices have been unheard? And how might we reimagine the sacred in ways that heal and empower? Feminist theology began as a reaction to the exclusion of women and women's concerns from traditional Christian theology. Originated from the margins of women's exclusion and traditional male-centered Christian theology, feminist theology is now, as we know, a major force in theological thought across religions, challenging the hidden norms and biases within religious texts and advocating for gender-inclusive language that not only includes references to humanity, but also references to God. Unitarian Universalism is uniquely positioned to embrace feminist theology and did so early on, passing a Woman in Religion resolution at the 1977 General Assembly. Our tradition values reason, experience, and the continuous search for truth. We recognize that revelation is ongoing and not bound by tradition, and that wisdom is found in the voices of all people, not just in those who have traditionally held power. As we build a theology of inclusion, we affirm the sacredness of every individual's experience and reject doctrines that oppress or exclude. UU feminist theologians have played a significant role in shaping contemporary discussions on gender, faith, and social justice. Their work integrates UU principles with feminist theological insights that challenge patriarchy and promote inclusivity. Rebecca Ann Parker, whose words you heard earlier, is a noted feminist theologian and past president of Starr King School for the Ministry. And she embodies this commitment through her theological work. A lifelong advocate for social change, Parker has written extensively on feminist theology, liberation, and the role of the church in promoting justice. She is credited with transforming Starr King from a historically white liberal school to a multiracial, counter-oppressive institution. In Proverbs of Ashes, co-authored by Nakashima Brock, Parker critiques traditional Christian understandings of sacrifice and atonement, advocating instead for a theology that emphasizes healing and empowerment. She also explores themes of resistance and spiritual renewal, urging faith communities to cultivate practices that nurture life, that nurture hope, and that nurture justice. Reverend Parker now serves as the founding board secretary of Braxton Institute, working with leaders with marginalized identities, co-creating strategies to repair and heal harms and traumas inflicted on historically oppressed communities. She writes, legacies of violence, terror, and trauma continue to bring anguish into the world. Now, more than ever, people of conscience and love need to do the hard work of theological thinking that deconstructs religion that sanctions violence. We need to rededicate ourselves to the creation of life-giving theologies, justice-making religious communities, and joy-infusing spiritual practices. Unitarian Universalist ethicist and past provost of Meadville Lombard Theological School, Sharon Welch, echoes those sentiments. Her book, A Feminist Ethic of Risk, challenges traditional notions of moral responsibility, advocating for collective action in the face of systemic injustice. Welch's work encourages individuals and communities to engage in ongoing resistance rather than seeking unattainable ideas of purity or perfection in their activism. In other words, just do it. Parker and Welch continue to inspire and shape Unitarian Universalist thought, as do those who came before them, and as do our 9th UUA President, Reverend Dr. Susan Frederick Gray, and current UUA President, Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt. Their leadership reinforces our commitment to justice, compassion, and inclusive spirituality. I'll share with you now a quote from Dr. Frederick Gray. Some theologians say that only some people are saved. From those theologies flows a world where people are criminalized for their identities, for being Muslim, transgender, Black, undocumented. Our theology says that we are all saved, and salvation is what we strive to build now for each other. So we resist any laws, policies, or practices that deny anyone their humanity. There's that word again, resist. So let me pause just here for a moment and invite reflection on the principle of equality. What is it that makes equality sacred? For UUs, equality is not just a political and ethical stance that calls us to dismantle oppressive systems. Equality is also a deeply spiritual stance that affirms our shared humanity and acknowledges the inherent divinity present in every person. For me, equality is sacred because it is endowed by our Creator, whoever and whatever that is. In truly sacred spaces, everyone is heard. Everyone is respected. Everyone is valued. And everyone is cared for equally. Now, some of you, I can hear the wheels turning. You may be thinking, yes, Reverend Cobb, yes, equality, but what about equity? My answer to that, beloveds, is if equality was observed as a sacred practice, spiritually, socially, economically, politically, and culturally, in every aspect of our day-to-day lives, equity would already be present. We would not have to fight for it. When we truly experience ourselves as equal and give that gift to each other, we are liberated from the burden of otherness and are free to experience our own true divinity. Only then can we build a world without suffering. By embracing the sacred power of equality, Unitarian Universalists commit to a vision of the world where all people are recognized as bearers of divine worth. Unfortunately, as we know, that isn't yet true in our world. Indeed, black feminist theologians found it necessary to create their own movement to make up for the failing of early feminist theologians to include and address the lived experiences of black women. While feminist theology arose primarily from the experiences of white women seeking to challenge patriarchal religious structures, black feminist or womanist theology emerged from the lived realities of African American women who suffered both sexism and the added burden of racism within religious and social institutions. And that had largely been ignored by white feminist theologians of that time. That gap is much less evident today. And modern feminist theology is far more inclusive in addressing the intersectionality of oppression, as reflected in the quotes that I shared earlier. But there is still a lot of work to do within the movement. As we know, women in general and feminists in particular have long been at the forefront of social justice organizing. Today, womanist theology and ideology informs many of the movements we have come to know, Black Lives Matter being just one of them. Influenced by communal values and the historic survival strategies of black and indigenous women, womanist theology emphasizes collective uplift, intergenerational wisdom, and the necessity of interconnectedness in order to be effective in resistance. Theologians such as Dolores S. Williams, Katie Cannon, and Emily Towns emphasize that true equality must address the interwoven realities of race, gender, and class oppression. Womanist thought calls faith communities to affirm the sacred worth of those who have been historically marginalized and to recognize the divine in the lived experiences of the oppressed. By embracing the sacred power of equality through a womanist theological lens, Unitarian Universalists can deepen our commitment to justice, acknowledging that true liberation is intersectional and must make space for individual lived experience. Now, this is a reality that most of us here are well familiar with. I am not telling you something new, I imagine. However, the need to keep talking about it, to keep advocating for it, to keep preaching it, to keep standing for it, is evidenced by the fact that it remains unacknowledged by so many religious organizations that claim to know the secret to salvation, even while they engage in acts of violence, often in the name of the God that they purport to serve. UUA President Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt has extensively engaged with womanist theology, emphasizing the importance of individual experiences and liberation in theological discourse. In Eco-Womanism at the Panama Canal, Black Women, Labor, and Environmental Ethics, Betancourt argues that women in the African diaspora have a unique understanding of how a moral refusal to compromise their humanity provides the very understanding needed to survive inconceivable levels of environmental and societal devastation. We're here. Reverend Kayama Rahman is a Black female UU minister whose writing and research centers on the presence of Black women in Unitarian Universalism. For the past several years, she has been gathering voices of Black Unitarian Universalist clergy who identify as women to hear their stories. Her anthology, The Rough Side of the Mountain, Black Women's Ministries in Unitarian Universalism, was published in 2023 by Skinner House. Telling her own story, she says that what initially attracted her to Unitarian Universalism was the social justice orientation. She says the justice, the love for justice, the compassion for justice, the recognition that all individuals deserve to live quality of life and deserve to be treated fairly and justly. She says that what has kept her a Unitarian Universalist is the theological diversity that we embrace. Her work, like that of Williams, Cannon, and Towns, asserts that the sacred power of equality is realized when communities work together towards liberation, not through sacrifice, but through justice and love. That equality is sacred because it is deeply tied to human dignity and that ongoing struggle for justice. And that by exploring the ways that cultural narratives shape oppression, faith communities can challenge destructive patterns with a radical reimagining of the divine that embraces multiplicity, inclusivity, and justice for everyone. All of the women that I have mentioned have earned their place in history as leaders in the feminist movement. All have made an impact on how modern faith organizations interact both within and outside of the walls of their institutions. And though there are many, many, many more women that I have not mentioned here, I hope that by focusing on just this few, I have offered you an opportunity to celebrate the power of the feminist influence in UU history, and perhaps pique your curiosity enough that you might go and learn about other dynamic women who have fought for justice and equality and who have found a home in Unitarian Universalism, because there are so many from so many different backgrounds. May we continue to learn from them and their legacy. And may we draw inspiration from their leadership as we resist and reimagine our way to a better world. May it be so. Please rise in body or spirit for hymn number 1026 in your teal hymnal, If Every Woman in the World.
Each week we make an offering from the bounty we are blessed to enjoy. We do this in the spirit of love and generosity, aware that we have benefited from those who have gone before, those that in their turn gave generously. Our offering goes to support the work, love, and justice undertaken by this community. Today's offering will also be shared with Neighbors Links Immigrant Empowerment Campaign. Please read more about that and them in our order of service and online. You can make your donation in several ways. If present here in the sanctuary, you can give cash, check, and the offering plate as it comes by. From your homes, you can make your donation via credit card or PayPal using the links provided in the e-newsletter. Or you can visit our website, UUCHV.org. If you prefer, you can always mail us a check. The offering will now be given and gratefully received. Please join me in the dedication of the offering with the words that are in your order of service. May these gifts and the work of our hearts and minds give power to all we stand for as a community of faith. Now join me in extinguishing the chalice. Again, the words are in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, from the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Please join me in thanking our worship associates and our musicians. Thank you so much for this wonderful service, everyone. The benediction this morning is from Reverend Lisa Garcia Sampson. She is a UU Community Minister and Executive Director of UU Justice, North Carolina. Spirit of life and love, spirit that lives within us and between us and among us right now. Within this beloved community and in our work for collective liberation, may we continue to weave the web of trust and care to keep our bodies safe. But more than that, may our bodies be the site of healing, joy, and freedom. May we refuse to let our spirits be depleted and hardened by the forces of hate. Instead, may we open ourselves to be nourished and transformed by the movement for justice, knowing that our collective story is not what we are fighting against, but what we are fighting for. For ours is the work of creation. Ours is the work of inviting people into an irresistible movement, rooted in our belief that a new world is possible. And the center of our work is love and joy and the spirit of abundance. These are the things we are fighting for, and these are the things that we are fighting with. May we know deep in our bones that this is the call of our faith. Blessed be, and go in peace, and go in love. Amen.
That's so much her happy place. I know. Who'd you talk to?